All right, hello, my name is Mark Wald. I'm with Fantech, and I'm going to present for maybe the next 20 minutes or so on residential kitchen makeup air. And we'll go through a little bit about what this topic is, why it's necessary, what the code requires, and how we can provide a solution for that. So let's get rolling here a little bit. There is a much more detailed and involved presentation that Fantech can provide for this. It's an accredited course through AIA and through ICC, and it's about an hour long. We're not going to cover it in that much detail right now, but if that is something that someone would like to have provided for a codes group or for a group of architects or designers, that can certainly be arranged. So what is makeup air? Makeup air is air that is provided into a building to replace the amount of air that's being exhausted. So anytime you're exhausting air for any reason out of a building, the air that is brought back into that building is the makeup air. And one of the largest exhaust systems in most homes, and usually the largest exhaust system in any home, is the kitchen exhaust system. Exhausting air out of buildings is necessary, especially kitchen exhaust, because the process of cooking creates a lot of pollutants. And I'm not just talking about bad cooks. Everybody that cooks, even if it's really good cooking and it's got wonderful aromas, that stuff is not healthy to breathe. It's one of the worst polluters of an indoor environment that you have. So it's important to run that exhaust. Well, as we run that exhaust, what's going on? Today we're building homes tighter and tighter all the time. These homes are very efficient. They're built to perform. So they keep the outdoor conditions out, they keep the indoor conditions in, however. So all the stuff that happens inside that home stays in that home, including all the unhealthy stuff that's created from cooking and other things. So we need to run exhaust. That's why it's so important. However, when homes are this tight, if you just try to run exhaust, is that home leaky enough to let air come back into the home to replace what you're removing? Unfortunately, no. So that's why compensating makeup air is so necessary. As you see here, building tightness, there's tightness levels. Most home builders today do blower door tests to ensure that their homes are as tight as they need to be. There are codes out there in some areas that require certain levels of tightness. So when you have a tight home and you're trying to exhaust a lot of air out of that home, and the home itself is not leaky enough to let the replacement air come back in, it's going to try to come into that home wherever it can, including your fireplace. You're going to pull air right down the chimney, smoke and flames out of the fireplace when you're running that kitchen exhaust hood. Unfortunately, you know, that's a symptom of not enough makeup air or inadequate makeup air. Water heater vent pipes, drafts under doors. Creating a depressurization in the home can do all kinds of stuff, including pull in radon gas from the soil below. Clearly all that stuff is undesirable and we don't want. So what can we do about it? We can provide adequate makeup air. Any depressurization in the home is undesirable. And what's amazing is, as little as 3 pascals depressurization in the home can cause backdrafting of appliances. Because backdrafting of appliances is so dangerous, the codes, the building codes, the residential codes have a lot to say about, you know, what to do. So some third-party organizations out there that you may recognize have found, you know, look, as little as 3 pascals here can cause your water heater to backdraft. That's a safety issue, so it's a code requirement. We don't want our depressurization in the home to go any more than 3 pascals. So we have to provide makeup air in a way to prevent that. Over the years, there have been different versions of codes. They began in about 2009 with regards to Makeup Air. In the beginning, and still to this day, it says if you have a kitchen exhaust system capable of at least 400 CFM, then you need to have compensating makeup air to replace that air that you're removing. And that system needs to be able to operate automatically anytime you operate your kitchen exhaust system. It just happens. 400 CFM or more going out, you need to have some means of 400 CFM coming back in. This is the actual language out of one of the year's codes. Don't need to bore you with all that. You can read it for yourself. There's different ways you can get that air in the home. One of those is with a damper. Just simply put an opening in the building envelope, a hole in the wall, so to speak. That's allowed. But the most current version of the building code there says you can do that, but you better darn well make sure that you do not cause a depressurization in the process of any more than 3 pascals. Again, so we don't backdraft appliances and fireplaces. So all right, if I put a hole in the wall, how big does that hole need to be in order to make sure I don't depressurize the home? Let's take a look at that. If I try to maintain this 3 pascal threshold and no more than that, and I'm exhausting 400 CFM out with my kitchen hood, again, that's the action quantity, the threshold for doing something with makeup air that's in the code. This is the size diameter hole in the wall that I better have. At 400 CFM, to not exceed that, it needs to be slightly larger than 16 inches in diameter to let that 400 CFM back into the home and do so in a way that does not depressurize it more than 3 pascals. That's a pretty good size hole. So, a word of caution, that kitchen exhaust system that's doing 400 CFM, the duct that is installed to exhaust that air and the duct collar on top of that kitchen hood may only be 6 or 8 inches in diameter. You can't just simply put an 8 or 6 inch hole in the wall and expect that you're going to pull 400 CFM into the home and not depressurize it more than 3 pascals. Clearly, 16 inches is a lot larger than 8 inches. 400 CFM is just the threshold for taking action. What if we have, say, a 1200 CFM hood? Nice kitchens have hoods that large. Well, what size of hole in the wall do I need now? About 29 inches, right? Or a whole bunch of holes in the wall that all add up to that same area. There you go, a bunch of holes on the wall. You can do that, but that's also not very practical, and I think most people would not prefer that on their home. So another option is use powered makeup air systems. And of course that is what Fantech has available for people to use. The difference being you have a fan, part of the system. The fan is actually driving that air into the home. And it drives the air into the home at the exact same quantity that you're removing it. It's modulating. It knows exactly how much air to provide when you're running your hood on low or up on high or anywhere in between high and low. It always matches. And since you have a fan, you're not depressurizing the home. You're actually providing that air to the home. It's completely balanced throughout the entire operating range of your exhaust system. So they work together. It only operates when you're running your kitchen exhaust system. It also has the ability to manage that air a little better too. Instead of just a hole in the wall, now it's contained in a duct. We have a motorized damper that's normally closed, and it only opens up to let air in to the system when I'm operating my kitchen exhaust. We have a filter to take the large chunks out of the air before we deliver it to the home. Of course, a fan that we're controlling the speed of to exactly match the exhaust. Then we have a duct silencer It's basically a sound attenuating device, so a little bit of the noise that this motor here might create in delivering air, we take that sound out so that it's a nice quiet delivery of air back to the kitchen. And then in places around the country where maybe it gets a little uncomfortably cold in the winter, you might want to be able to put some heat into that. One thing you do not want to do is have this kitchen makeup air be supplied into your central ducted heating and cooling system. That central heating and cooling system is designed to maintain space temperatures in the home. And it's designed to do so by recirculating air that's already in the home, keeping it comfortable. It is clearly not designed to handle large volumes of air directly from the outdoors. You will void the warranty on your furnace heat exchanger. You will potentially cause condensation on the interior or exterior of that ductwork, which is probably not insulated in most cases, and a whole host of other things. And in the more recent versions of the code basically tell you when you're delivering makeup air for your kitchen exhaust, they want you to get that air back to the kitchen itself. That's the space from where we're removing the air, that's the space to where we should deliver that air back. Makes some sense. We have a heater here too though. So this heater, it's a modulating heater, it's an accessory. In areas where you don't need heat, don't need it. But where you do, it'd be nice to get that air warmed up. We're not trying to heat the kitchen with it, we're just trying to bring that air to some kind of a temperature that's reasonably comfortable before we dump it back into the kitchen. There's a control system. It comes with an electrical enclosure. It can be mounted in any kind of a mechanical space or probably near to where some of this gets installed. This stuff needs to be installed out of the weather, but it does not have to be a conditioned space. It can be an attic, it can be in a garage, it can be in a basement or a mechanical room. Any of those spaces are fine. About the only thing that really needs any regular maintenance might be this filter box. A place to get to this filter box, to take the filter out, replace it, maybe a couple times a year at the very most. It all depends on how much people use their kitchen exhaust system. And then after this, you run a duct from there to take it back to the kitchen. A lot of times people then ask, well, where in the kitchen should we supply this air? And really, that kind of is up to your imagination, right? Maybe you can provide it in the toe space underneath the cabinets, that's fine. Maybe you can provide it, if you've got wall space as you do here, above the cabinets and still below the ceiling. Maybe you can put some nice linear slot grills up there. You could also put a grill in the ceiling and blow that air from the ceiling down. About the only thing we caution people on is to not blow air directly towards this cooking area, the range area. If this is all done correctly in an exhaust setup, this exhaust creates the thermal plume that comes off the cooking is captured by this hooded system. And that's important again because that's an indoor air quality problem if you're not capturing that. So we don't want to disturb that thermal plume. So we don't want to be blowing air directly at it. If it's in the ceiling, blow it straight down, but don't blow it at the range top. That's about the only word of caution we have there. And then your installing contractor, who is probably most of the time going to be an HVAC capable contractor, can size the grills accordingly, and you can choose grills that match the decor of the space and so on and so forth. We already mentioned that. Some of the different types of grills you might consider. Another one some people think is maybe behind the refrigerator. May not be a bad spot. Or even behind the ovens themselves. So there you have it. A few conclusions just to wrap this up. True Makeup Air is a practical solution, and that True Makeup Air solution includes a fan to bring that air in. It's a powered makeup air system. It's controlled automatically to proportionally deliver the exact amount of air back to the space that you're removing as part of your kitchen exhaust system. Eliminates depressurization because it's always balanced. Satisfies the building code. You can bring it back to the kitchen. You're managing it. You have the ability to heat it a little bit if you need to before you bring it in the kitchen. And you filter it as well. And that pretty well wraps it up. Are there any questions over what you've heard? Installation-wise, system-wise, commissioning, any of that?
What about your bathroom exhaust fans?
It's not designed to compensate the other forms of exhaust in the home. And those are challenges, and those are really good questions, because as homes continue to be built tighter and tighter, and many are already built tight enough today that even something as small as a bathroom exhaust fan or your dryer exhaust is about 150 CFM. Bathroom exhaust can be anywhere from 50 CFM to over 100 CFM each bathroom. And we don't have a lot of packaged solutions for that. This system that I've described is meant to be installed one for one, paired with your kitchen exhaust. Unfortunately, right now today, the bath exhaust would be a completely separate system from this. Now, there are things like HRVs and ERVs, fresh air appliances if you want to call them, that can pull exhaust from those bathrooms and at the very same time replace air, compensate that exhaust right back into the home as well. So those kind of systems can be done. The one that there's not any real perfect solution for is the dryer exhaust. That one's still a challenge. Let's put it that way.
It's all part of 62.2. It's all part of ASHRAE 62.2.
ASHRAE 62.2 requires bathroom ventilation, kitchen ventilation, and continuous fresh air. Sorry?
It encompasses all exhausted air.
Yes, it does. And what it doesn't address is the ability to make that air up. We're talking about ASHRAE 62.2, if you didn't hear the question. What it doesn't address, as well as we would all like, is the way that you make up all of this exhaust. It basically assumes that the house will be leaky enough to compensate some of those smaller, what we call less than 400 CFM exhaust requirements.
You've actually got two paths. You have first of all, you have the carbon dioxide exhaust from people load. You have the bathroom fans, dryer, all the other multiple exhausts, which are kind of low level, and then you have the kitchen, which is high CFM. So that's the trick, trying to do both with one.
You're correct. This gentleman, and I'm just going to repeat it, what he's saying is 100% accurate. There are many forms of extract air from a home, and there are a few forms of supply air into a home. And unfortunately, it's very rare that someone has been given the task or the responsibility to look at all of that as an entire system. It would be nice if on every new home being built, someone were taking a look at that and making sure all this works together as a whole system. It's not happening. And there's other exhaust, correct. So we can compensate the kitchen exhaust, which is normally the biggest culprit in the whole situation. So at least we can do that. We have systems that we know work very well. We can do some bathroom exhaust compensation with an HRV or ERV. That's available. The dryer, don't have a real perfect solution for the dryer yet. Other forms of extract, as was mentioned by the gentleman here, are forms of combustion. If you do not have if you have non-direct vent appliances in the home, direct vent being where the appliance actually brings its own combustion air in, as well as its exhaust, then that appliance would be consuming combustion air from within the home, which would then have to be made up. And so gas burning appliances consume about 40 CFM per every 100,000 BTUs of gas input that they're rated for while they're operating. So there's another form of exhaust. If the home is so tight that it can't make that up on its own, something would have to be provided. And it would be super awesome if there were a solution that could do all that, no matter what that form of exhaust was.
Gotta be ERVs.
Well, an ERV would be nice, except that the ERV on its own can't compensate anything because it is already balanced on its own. It's already exhausting its own air and bringing in the same amount of air. You can offset the amounts of the extract and the supply by about as much as 10%. So even if that's a 200 CFM ERV, which is a pretty big ERV for a home, if you offset those air streams by 10%, you can really only have an extra 20 CFM of supply, which is nice, but it's not going to cover even one dryer, unfortunately. So you are making light of a point, not making light, you're bringing the attention to the point that there is no solution, there's no comprehensive solution for all this yet. There's a need for one though, and we wish we had one. But we can certainly compensate the kitchen hood, which is the biggest culprit, like I mentioned. I wish we had one. We get that question with regularity.
That kitchen hood should be tied in as a separate function as a permit. Because a lot of them don't do that.
Right.
Even if you have a window, you can open it. But still,
You can always open a window. That is right.
who's gonna do that?
Yeah. Well, that's about all I have today. I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much.